y'all. I'm here sitting with Christen Friday, the host behind Cooking with Carmen. So you have a pretty big weekend ahead, yeah? Your show just launched on Taste on Television, the first Black-owned cooking network. How does that feel?
I have no words, really. I mean, it's speechless. It's just really hard to describe. It's something that it's unbelievable. I mean, you have something that's, history is being made. I mean, it's first Black-owned cooking network. So, and for me to be a part of something, such of a great magnitude is, I get lost for words. I mean, I really don't know how to, just really express that outside of me being, humble, really grateful, because I mean, there are so many other people that's out there, that are so talented, and, yet I was chosen to be a part of that. So it's very exciting. I'm still trying to process it all. I'm excited.
So when you say unbelievable, did you not foresee this moment ever coming for you, for yourself? Did you not see this moment coming for your cooking show?
Not a cooking show, no. That was never my plan. My ultimate goal was to, be able to teach people how to cook, but to do it at a storefront level. And I still want to do that. But however, this has came about, so I get to do this first, and then I guess we'll figure that other half out, as we continue on. But when I think about it, I look at how things have happened, like my lives that I normally do. I started doing the Facebook lives in 2017, not knowing that it was preparing me to get ready for a cooking show. So I have time to think about things like this, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So, but I like I said, I had no idea that, it would be going in this direction, because that was definitely not my plan. But I always say, my plans is not God's plan. So there it is. He opened the door, so I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah, we love God's plan. So let's stay there. When you started your cooking show, mini cooking show on Facebook Live, what was the initiator behind that? Like, were you bored? Were you sitting at the house like, I know people on Facebook want to see me cook? Like, what was the thoughts that started that?
Yeah. So it was a new feature that opened up on Facebook, the live. And so I was seeing people go live. I just decided, one day I said, okay, everybody doing this live thing, let me, do my food. Of course, my food was already prepared, but I just plated it. So when I look back at my first live, I kind of cringe, because I'd be like, oh my God, that's like, erase that. That's like, it's horrible. But, that was, I didn't have like an agenda behind it. It was just something that I did. And I said, okay, well, let me do this. Let me plate my food. And actually what I did was dirty rice with fried catfish. And I made like this sauce with crawfish in it. And so I just plated it on live, and from there, and I just started, plating, and then I actually got into, cooking, while on live. So it just kind of just transitioned each time I decided to do a live. And as time has went on, it has definitely progressed, knowing I just did my food, and here I am.
Well, here you are. Do you remember your very first, can you do some more of this? Or can we have some more? Can you cook? Can you tell me a recipe? Do you remember that moment?
I get a lot of, what is the recipe? What is this? So I am not a big fan of writing out recipes, because I'm very thorough. I believe in being thorough with recipes, because as a cook myself, when I buy books, cooking books or anything, some of it is not really, it's not clear. So I know a person like me who's had, who's been cooking as long as I have the experience that I have, if I get caught up and don't understand, imagine somebody who's, cooking for the first time. So, it's like, I like that people are interested, but when they say, can you send me the recipe? And I'd be like, no, how about you call me, I talk you right.
We like you. People like me like you. We need you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I just do not want to write it out because I am going to give you step by step. And I think that's fair because people really need to understand, really how to prepare the food, the details. Because like I said, in certain books and things, there's a lot of things that's left out and you have to try to figure it out yourself. And for me, I don't want you to have to figure out anything. I want you to be able to follow it from A to Z. It's very important because as for me, like I said, as a cook, if I don't have that understanding, then I'm going to lose interest in it. And I don't want anybody to lose interest, in what I'm trying to give to you. So I really want you to fully understand, exactly what it is that I am giving to you. And then, also give you alternatives. So when I have a recipe, and I know a lot of times that people don't have access to a lot of ingredients. So I'm going to give you a substitution and say, okay, well, you can use this, in the place of this. It might give you, just a slight different taste, but we're still on the same, long lines with, with the dish that I'm, actually preparing. So I like to give people that because I feel like the more information you have, a lot better, you feel a lot better about, what you're doing. You have a better understanding.
So tell me about your philosophy is food brings people together. Food bringing people together. Why is that something that you believe in? And then how has it brought the people in your life closer together?
Food brings people together. I mean, if you just really sit down and think about it, when people get together and they're eating, you have that conversational piece, you have that fellowship, you're not only enjoying your food, but you're enjoying one another. There are stories shared, there are things, that are going on, with that individual. You're catching up on, whatever that's going on in your life at that time or somebody else's life. So anytime that there's food, people always want to get together, because of course they want to eat. I think that's one of the main things, but also just that that fellowship piece.
So would you say family is a core value behind your
Oh, most
cooking?
definitely, most definitely. I mean it plays a big factor because just that connection piece, and even on my dad's side, my grandmother, she ran a cafe for 14 years. And when I would go down there and spend summers with her, before I get there, she would ask me, well, what do you want? What do you want grandma to fix you? And I tell her what I wanted, little fat kid, always eating. I always, she would fix me oxtails. Of course, macaroni and cheese, that was always a must, with, cornbread and okra gumbo. That was my meal that I always requested, every summer that I would go down there. And then she would fix the pecan candy for me. I didn't necessarily have to ask for that. I think she already knew what I really wanted. But with the pecan candy, I didn't have to ask. But that was something that she did because she knew I enjoyed it so much, so she made sure that was always available for me when I got there. So, I said, spending that time with her and, being in the kitchen with her all the time. And, we would go fishing. We wake up at the crack of dawn. I'd be like, seriously? It's like, I'm still asleep, we go get the crawfish and the minnows and, we be out there and, in Texas, the sun is always blazing, always. And I'd be like, Grandma, it's hot out here. I'm so hot. She's like, okay, baby, here, let me fan you. Like, we ain't finna leave yet. On my mom's side, my mom's side of the family, that's where all the good juicy gossip was and happened in the kitchen. So, I was learning, but also being nosy.
So tell me about, do you remember your very first meal, like the very first meal he was like, I did that and it's really, really good?
My first meal, I was like in 6th grade, and I cooked fried chicken. It was canned green beans and canned corn. That was my first meal. First meal, and I was proud. My chicken was done. It wasn't red on the inside, so it was seasoned. So I was like, okay, okay. So that was the very first thing that I actually did on my own.
Were you cooking out of necessity or like I'm ready to get in this kitchen, I'm ready to
No, I was hungry.
Yes.
I was hungry, and I think at that time, my mom, when she was working, she was also going to beauty school, too. So, being a latchkey kid, coming home. So I was like, well, it's just me. I'm the only child, so I'm gonna do what I got to do. So I hope I won't burn down the house in the process. So that's what I did. That was my first.
So what started you in the kitchen? So I know you said you grew up with your grandma, you grew up seeing your mom and your family cook. Like, but what was the thing like that if there was a moment that said, I really have a thing for this and I'm really good at it and I enjoy it and I want to make something out of it? Or did it just happen?
That particular moment didn't happen until I got older. Now, I did know coming up that I did enjoy being in the kitchen, cooking, but it was never to a point to where, oh, this is what I want to do. It was just something that I knew that, I enjoyed doing. So anything that, deals with artistic, on the art side, creativity side, I'm automatically drawn to. So it doesn't matter whether it's, music, whether it's art, whatever it is, I'm automatically drawn to it. And so with cooking, I was always in the kitchen, always trying to, figure out, something, being creative in there. But that moment of deciding to make it something that I want to do on a permanent basis and offer to everyone else, that did not happen until I want to say probably maybe 2003 is when it just really hit and said, okay, because actually my best friend, Angela, she was the one that brought it to my attention because she was like, well, since you would like to bake and cook. Okay, I should.
We love friends like that though.
But, she was like, since you like to do all that, you need to start, thinking about, going to a business and selling it, because you just giving away. That's all you do is cook, 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 cook. I was like, okay, so I definitely gave it some thought, and then it went from my oldest girl, one of her teachers, they was having a PTA, and I don't even know how she found out that I cooked, but she reached out to me, and I provided, some. It was quiche. Yes, it was. It was quiche. I made that for it, and then ever since then, it just she was calling me. Oh, well, we're gonna have this. Can you make this? Can you make that? Okay, yeah, no problem. So that was exciting. Because I knew people around me enjoyed my food, but then people on the outside were getting exposed to my cooking style and what I had to offer, so that made me feel good.
So that and your best friend telling you, hey, you got a talent here. Is that what started Sweet Perfections?
One of the things is baking is my first love, period. I will bake before I cook. Okay. So that's something that I will never stray away from. So with Sweet Perfections, it's really kind of it's weird how it happened, because I knew I liked to bake, but I didn't really think about bakery in that sense. But I was on my lunch break one day, and sometimes on my lunch break I would kind of just fill around on the computer because I wasn't going to go anywhere. So I would just search the internet and things of that nature. So I saw a cake that was done in fondant. I didn't know that's what it was, and it was had gum place flowers going down the side, and I saw that, and I was like, I want to do that. I don't know what that is. I was like, but I want to do that. I was like, so how do I figure out, how to do this? What is this? So I'm like searching. I spent my whole lunch hour basically trying to figure out, what kind of cake that was, because, I ran across something that was very unfamiliar, not knowing. So I'm just searching, and somehow Cake Carousel popped up. Cake Carousel is a supply company, and they also teach classes, cake decorating classes. And I looked and I was like, okay. So I was like, well, let me just click on here and see what, what this is all about. And so I saw a picture of Nicholas Lodge, not knowing his status at all. Yes, very talented, amazing individual. And I kind of stared at the picture and I was like, oh, I don't know. Because I saw that, it was a class being offered. And I was like, I have no idea what this is. I said, but this person is offering a class here. And I was like, I kind of stared at it for a little bit longer. And I was like, Carmen, just pick up the phone and call and find out, what it is. So I called. Still wasn't quite clear. They explained it to me, but I was like, well, I got this feeling after, I got off the phone. I'm like, I think this is what I'm actually looking for. I'm not sure, but something on the inside is telling me this is. I really felt deep down inside that this was what was going to get me where I needed to be, to get my start.
And at the time, you were still working full time, right?
I was still working full time, right.
And doing cakes on the side.
Right. And hadn't thought about, really opening up a business. Now, my peers did tell me, because I would bring, cakes and things up to the job, because when I get in my mode, I want to cook, I want to bake. So I signed up for the class. And my first day, I was a little nervous because, not really knowing what to expect. And I walk in, I'm in a class of individuals that, business owners that have their own bakeries. They've been in business for 10, 15 years, 7, Me, I'm just somebody that's just walking in, So I have nobody, right, So it was, a little weird because we had to introduce ourselves, and they was like, oh, I'm such and such, and I've been in business 15 years. And I'm like, oh my God, do I really have to say who I am and all of this? I really don't want to do this part. So, it got to me, and, I told them who I was, and I just said, I just found the class, and, I found that I think this is what I'm looking for, so I'm here, I couldn't really give them a lot of information because I didn't have really anything to, to really give them. But, so as we went through, and, he was showing us our first, what he wanted us to do, how to work with what was funded, how to work with it, how to make it. So he was very thorough. And that was one of the things I did like about, Nicholas, because he was just very inviting and he made you feel comfortable, and it's like, he made you feel like, I got this. Even if you may not had it, you felt like you had it, So, we started on our projects, that first day. And for me, because I am an out of the box thinker, I took his design to another level. Yeah. Class favorite. And, not really knowing, because, when the class was over, I, stayed and I asked him, I said, well, do you mind if I, work on my project a little bit more? And he was like, oh, no problem. Go ahead, And then, I noticed that he walked by a couple of times and then he stopped. And so he sat down and he's like, so how long you been decorating? I said, this is my first. And he was like, this is your first? I was like, yeah. I was like, I've never had a cake decorating class. So he couldn't really believe me. He was just like, are you serious? Like, this is, and I was like, yeah. I said, I've never had a cake decorating class, but not knowing, my history behind as far as with the arts, because coming up, I've always been able to draw. When I went off to school, my actual, my major was architectural engineering. So anything that has to do with that creative side, I mean, all I needed to know was, what is this? How do I do it? And I'm gonna run with it. And, that's exactly what I did. So, I got familiar with it. Come back the next day for class. I'm like, why is everybody around my table? I'm thinking something happened to,
Somebody sabotaged the
right, my project. I'm just like, what is going on? And the fact that, they were actually admiring what I had done because I took it to a whole different level. So then they started asking me questions. I'm like, whoa, wait, I'm like, I don't know. It's like I just felt like it needed this and it needed that, and that's just how my mind works because I love details and I just detailed it out a lot more. Like I said, once I got that foundation, I was good to go. So my first cake that I initially done was a Louis Vuitton suitcase with the Louis Vuitton purse. So that was my goal, and I just went from there because I had the foundation, and that's all I needed, and I just ran with it.
So tell me one high moment of Sweet Perfections, and then I know that you did have to transition back into the workplace. Sweet Perfection had to close up shop, and what was that like? What was that transition like for you?
One of my highs, I would say, was being a part of the Mansfield Chamber, and just the overall reception that I received, and from the community. I stayed busy with them. I didn't have to ever worry about advertising. My business was by word of mouth. Um, and they welcomed me in, with open arms. I had a ribbon cutting ceremony and everything. Um, when I had to stop doing because there had took a turn for the economy. And by me, at that time, I was using my own money. I was working my way in trying to find a grant writer so that way I could get a grant for my business and move into a storefront. But I wasn't able to do that. And so I had to end up going back into the workforce. And that was rough for me because I had had so much success going forward and I wanted to continue that. And for me to have to put that back on the back burner and go back and work for someone else, it was hard. I tried to fight it as long as I possibly could. But, I had to go back and I hated every minute, every minute. I made the best of my opportunities that I had, but on the inside, it was like literally eating me up because
Did you feel like you failed?
I never felt like I failed. It was incomplete. And I knew I had to finish. I had to finish what I started. And I had to figure out how was I going to get back to that.
Wouldn't you say you've done that now? Now that it's coming back around full circle, you just launched on the first Black-owned cooking network on September 4th. Yay to you, and we owe you a double celebration because you've also been awarded the 2021 Chef's Award for Home-Based Cooking Channel. Like, that is whoa. Did you ever, know that those tears that you cried that were sadness and feeling incomplete, that this moment would come into fruition of now, you're seeing this?
I knew at some point that I would get back to what I love to do. But like I said, not at this magnitude. I did not have no ideal. And it was something, that I prayed about. There would be nights that I would come home and I would cry about it. And I was just like, Lord, you gotta help me figure this thing out. I said, because you know where my heart is. I know what I'm supposed to do. I need you to make it happen. I need you to make it happen, because it's just, I'm not happy without doing it, because my primary job, yeah, it fed my family, it did what it needed to do, but yet there was a part of me that was still incomplete. I was just like, I was just like tired. I was like, okay, Lord, I've learned everything that I needed to. There's nothing else left. When, it's just like, rescue me, because I am about to literally just like bust inside, because it got to a point to where it was keeping me from doing what I really wanted to do, because I'd have all these ideals and creativity, creative dishes that I want to do. And it's like, either I'm too tired, when I get home, I'll do a little bit, but I can't really push it out like the way that I want to, because, of the time frame. Because either, if I, had to close the store down, then I'm right back up within 4 hours, having to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning to get the stores ready and, get ready for the operations of the day. And then, by the time I get off and, pick up the girls and get them fed, to a certain, I'm just like, whew, I'm a little tired. I was
You
like,
made it happen.
I did what I could. I tried my, my very best. And some days I pushed myself, to make things, to get it out of my head, because I needed to, and, my oldest, she gets on me about not writing stuff down. She's like, write it down, write it down, write it down. But, some things I just have to be able to get it out, right then and there, because if I don't, I'm not, it does, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but when I have something that's like, that hits me like right here, full front face, I have to get it out. I have to get it out right then and there. Because to me, that's telling me, this needs to happen now. You need to get this out now, put this out, get it done, whether it's to, post it later or post it right then and there, get it done. So I listen to that voice that, that tells me, okay, this is a dish.
Well, speaking of dishes, let's end with our thunder round. Okay, so you have two options: baking or cooking,
Bacon.
pastries or cakes,
Cakes.
fish or chicken,
I mean, chicken.
grilled. We're gonna give you a pass. Grilled or fried,
Grilled.
home cooking or restaurant.
Oh, home cooking, most definitely.
That's what we wanted to hear. Okay, so your philosophy, your mission statement is food is passion, passion is art. What would you say to somebody who has a dream, who feels like their story is incomplete, and right now they're in that season of feeling like, these are the saddest tears I've cried. When is my turn going to come with something I believe in, something I've invested in? What would you say now, sitting in this moment, not knowing how it did come to pass? What would you say to give them encouragement?
I would say you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to be patient. And you have to, faith is going to be your main thing, faith in God, because, everything happens for a reason. And we all go through a season, we all go through our seasons, because within that season, there's something to be learned that's going to help you go to that next level. And whatever it is that you're supposed to learn, make sure you learn it, so that way you're not repeating it and setting yourself back. Because I've had some setbacks because of, not following through, being disobedient. So it's taken me a little bit longer, in some sense, because, I've had my hands in it. But my biggest thing is, faith. Have your faith in God and be patient, and still continue to work towards what you want to do. Don't give up. Just because it's not happening right then and there does not mean it's not going to happen. It's not your season just right then and there. Because when I look back on it, I think about the song that I sing at church, He's Preparing Me, by Daryl Coley, and which is real powerful. He's preparing me for something that I cannot see right now. And when I look back on it and I see the steps that I have taken,
and the things that I have gone through, you know, the good and the bad, it has brought me here. It's brought me here. It's preparing me for this. Because this is where I'm supposed to be.
That's where you're supposed to be. That's
Be.
on that. Thank you for your time. We celebrate you. Y'all tune in to Cooking with Carmen on Roku on the first Black-owned cooking network. We'll talk to y'all later.